everyone, and welcome to Let's Heal with Beth Jones. That's me, your host. My mission is to bring the power of healing to trauma and abuse survivors. That's why every guest on this show will bring you an amazing story of healing in action. So come on, everyone, let's heal. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Let's Heal with Beth Jones. Of course, that's me, your host on the show. And I am so excited about this show in particular because my very good friend, Jenn Brown, is with us today. Welcome, Jenn.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm so proud of seeing you shine this light with this
Podcast. Yes, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm very excited to have you on today. This is going to be a fun conversation for sure. You have a light and a beautiful spirit inside of you, and I'm excited for all my guests to see that today.
Yes, me too.
Please tell our guests what it is that you would like them to know about who you are.
Yeah, my name is Jenn Brown, and I'm a life coach to parents and teens. And my world, I was on a really solid little path, or so I thought. And I had an earthquake on the ground below me with a lot of trauma with my kids, actually. And so it has led me down this very cool path to be a life coach, to work with families to help connection and communication. And it's something I never knew I needed until I'm here, and now I'm here for it.
So you are doing that thing for parents and teens that you could have used once upon a time.
Used it, and it's not so much that it's correlated directly with all my trauma, but it is where I am most happy. It is where I love to be, and it is so important. And so I thought, why not? Like, why not jump into this space that is calling my name and it has God's fingerprints all over it?
Yeah. And living your passion. So I love to watch you talk about what you do because your passion for it really does come out. And I know we'll see that some of that as we're talking
Oh, I'm
today.
sure. It comes
Your
out. Just,
your niche is very cool too, right? Because certainly everybody who's listening to this has heard about life coaches, but we typically think about life coaches in the context of being an adult and probably more about either us as individuals trying to become better people. And a lot of times that has to do with work, right? There's always an aspect of our career that's present when we're talking about even in the life coaching, because it's a huge part of what we do, but really a focus on adults as individuals. And you focus on adults as parents, which is very cool, but then also the teens, which is I think, a great time to be introducing people to what coaching can actually do for you. So it's a cool niche you're in.
oh, thank you. Yeah. And when I started coaching, I did start working a lot with just the moms and just adults. And there was so much interwoven of needs and things that I wish. And so I thought, why not go down to these teens? And I'm a former educator. So working with kids is my happy place. It is what I
Hmm.
love to do. And so I thought, why not mix these worlds? And it has just turned out to be as beautiful as I dreamed it to be, because these kiddos just don't they don't know what they don't know, right? Like, we were not given the tools to be able to communicate well. We were not given the tools to know how to grieve when a friend doesn't want to be in our friend group anymore. And so all that turns into this negative self-talk and this just complete heaviness as a teen walks around on these streets. And not to mention that they are the first generation of all tech. They were born into
Hmm.
technology and they are trying to navigate it, and nobody really knows what they're doing with it. And so we're trying to just pave this path again of what it should look like to have a healthy balance with technology, as well as understanding what their world looks like in relationship to their parents' world and how we can mesh those together so everybody can live in harmony. That's the goal.
Peace and harmony. I think that should be everyone's goal in their life. It's certainly one of mine to be
That's right.
peaceful and calm in all aspects of my life. Life's going to happen, it's going to be bumpy, but navigating that to a place where your normal state of being most of the time is harmony and peace. Yeah, I'm right
That's
there with
right.
you.
And what I've discovered
Yeah.
is that these kids, because I get to come in judgment free. I get to come in with just curiosity, and there's nothing they're going to say that's going to send any wave over my like facial expression or my judgment. And that's just a beautiful thing. And we as parents don't get to have that luxury, right? We have to have that some sort of opinion on what's going on. So I'm a safe place. And then I get to work with both sides of it. I'm not an island to them. I interweave myself into the family and I become actually really close to everyone involved. So it's just building those relationships, which is the foundation of what heals us, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And the reason why we should heal, all about relationships. I say this all the time, right? Ultimately, we heal to know love.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
Show up in all of our important relationships. And certainly the parent-child relationship is at the top of that list of important
Mhm.
relationships. Yeah, it's amazing. I love your work. It's so cool.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about you as a person and your experiences with your own healing journey, because you have been through it, as you touched on briefly there with your kiddos. Feel free to share whatever it is that you would like to share about that. Of course, we're going to talk about your healing journey through that
Right.
and maybe even after that, but just set the stage just a little bit as you would like to do.
Yeah, so this is a story that you can only come in your most hellacious dreams, but we
That
are.
is true. I don't have children, but I agree with you because I've heard this before. I've heard you talk about it, and that
Right.
is very true. I think anybody, whether you have children or not, this is gonna touch your heart and take your breath away for sure.
So
Yeah.
like I said, I was a teacher. I was just working my way up the teacher ladder. And I had just had my third baby. And so I was on my maternity leave and I was just coming back. So it was right before Thanksgiving. And I got a phone call. I had been back to work for 2 days from my
Mhm.
maternity leave. And I got a phone call at the end of the day that my third baby, who was 9 weeks old, was throwing up. And so I thought, oh, here we go. It's an in-home care system. It is somebody who I've had my other kiddo with and trusted. And then I went to go pick him up, and he was throwing up and he was very uncomfortable. Like that mom gut just goes, all red flags start flying. So I ended up taking him to the hospital. And that's when they pulled me in and said, call your husband. We've got some big news. And they lined the room with like 10 of the hospital staff. So like social worker, admin, nurses, about three doctors, and they all line up and say that he's had voluntary trauma. And I was like, does that mean he was shaken? And he said, yes. And so that's when the bubble of you, like they say, you're underwater when trauma happens. Like I went
Mhm.
straight under. Like I remember a couple words. I remember the nurse being in my face and saying, you have to hold it together. And I just zoned out. And that's
Mhm.
when I had to go out in the hallway. Actually, I went to the bathroom and sat on the floor and I wasn't crying, I wasn't hyperventilating. I was literally in shock because he had blood on his skull, he had blood behind his eyes, and he couldn't hold down food. He was starting to throw up more. And it was
Mhm.
all those three signs that said, this is it. Like, that's the three signs of shaken baby syndrome.
Yeah.
And so we had to transport him by ambulance. And I remember thinking in the ambulance, I have got to say something because I know right now that they're looking at me because I'm his mom. And so I remember forcing out some words, but we got up to the room thinking what's going to happen. And they had just informed us that he was going to have brain surgery. And we were met with the police and CPS. And
Mhm.
immediately they split up my husband and I,
Mhm.
and we went to separate rooms so they could interrogate us. And I remember they took my phone, they were going through it, and I was fine with it, but it made me doubt everything in my world. Oh my gosh, there's been like three people that have in the last 2 days that have been with my child alone. It's me, my husband, and the babysitter. And they were really trying to get me to say, "Oh, your husband did it," and they were really interrogating him. And at first I was like, nobody did this. Like, what? This has to be fake news. This has to be false. And then as it came out, they were saying, yeah, this happened. So you need to figure it out. My husband and I came together and they said they did the same thing to him about me. And that's when we realized we've got to get a plan. So they tried to take my other two kids out of the house. And we convinced CPS to let my mom move in with us so that she could watch us take care of our kids. And 89 days of this back and forth and watching and waiting for something to update, nothing happened. They were almost trying to wait us out. And that's what I gathered. If we wait long enough, somebody will come forward. And all in the meantime, my son is getting all his brain surgeries. He has a tube in his head that goes down to his bladder to release all the drainage. And so we are literally like, I quit my job the day I walked out of that school. And now we're down to one income and I'm staying home trying to man all the CPS, all the police reports, and try to take care of my other two kids, and now my mother, who's in the home. But anyway, so we ended up hiring a lawyer and taking a polygraph. And they said if we could pass a polygraph, they would dismiss us. And so that's what we did. And we both passed. And the police did say when they brought in the babysitter to take the polygraph, she did not pass. And so we had our clear answer and she lawyered up and we could not touch her. And the DA dropped the case. They said we didn't have enough evidence. And so we were left, just my mom got to pack her bags and go home and we were just left. That's where it ended. And so talk about big time trauma. So
Yeah.
I now am in charge of just taking my son I was explaining to him the other day, I took you to every library class that Dallas had to offer. That's what we did all day long because I wanted to stimulate his brain waves and all the things with music and tapping and
Mm.
coordination. And he was,
Yeah, and this is an infant we're talking
oh,
about.
time. Yeah. He's probably by this time, he's 2 or 3 months old. He's probably
Yeah.
3 months old. Yeah. Baby. But we went and listened to all the music. I was just trying to do all the research I could. And he was not supposed to be, he was supposed to be a vegetable, is what quote unquote. But he's doing great and he doesn't have he didn't have seizures, he didn't have side effects. And so now he's a thriving 9-year old. But right after that, I had to go do extreme work on myself because I was terrified of my own shadow. I had broken trust. I had people accusing us of things. I had major self-doubt in myself as a mother. How did I let this happen? You name it, I was feeling it. And
Mm.
so that's when I had to slowly pull myself out of bed because these kids and my family needed me and started going to therapy and EMDR and all the things to help me understand that it was not my fault, that it was just a bad situation of a very bad decision. And yeah, so that's where we ended there. And then I'm still just picking myself up. And I noticed my 8-year-old is very thin. She wanted to lay down a lot. And by this, my mom senses are like on guard, right? I'm still in
Yeah.
fight mode. My nervous system
Yeah.
is still in fight mode. And so I said, let's go to the doctor. And they wanted to just watch her. And I was like, let's get some blood work. Like, I need to know what's happening. We just moved. I was like, I can't do this. And sure enough, 24 hours later, we're back in the hospital because they're telling us that she was diagnosed with leukemia, which is a cancer of the blood. And she was getting her port that day, and we were going to start chemo the very next day. And so here I am with my infant, probably young toddler now,
Less than a year.
yeah, it was probably a little over a year. So he was
Mm.
like 1.5, like 18 months.
Mhm.
And he still had to go in for MRIs. When my daughter started losing her hair, I shaved my head. And so there's a picture of me in solace, like I had to do something. There's a
Yeah.
picture of me holding my baby, getting an MRI in his little gown with a shaved head because my child at home was going through cancer treatment. And I look at that picture, my face is like hollow, like my
Yeah.
eyes are
Oh,
just
oh.
glazed over. And I'm
Yeah, I
like,
can't
oh,
even imagine, Jen.
if I could give
Yeah.
you a hug.
Yeah.
And so we went through that and she was back and forth in the hospital getting her treatments and she did really well comparatively. We had a lot of friends in the system going through the same treatments and we were very fortunate because she did not have too many extreme reactions that put us back in the hospital. She had to miss school, and so I'm back at home helping her get homeschooled and staying with my little one. And then she slowly started getting better, and she finished her treatment and was doing well. And she's now 5 years in the Survivors Club, so she's doing
So
great.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes. And then 22 days, I'm starting to try to once again thinking about myself, right? I'm not even there yet.
Hmm.
I'm thinking about myself. I walk into my middle kiddo's room and he's having a grand mal seizure. He's up in the upper bunk, just completely convulsing. So I climb up there. I get up there and hold him and turn him on his side. And we have no idea what's happening. Never has happened before. And so I call in my husband, and neither one of us can remember the address. We're just yelling at each other. And then we get him back to the hospital, and he has the brainwave test, and he has some form of seizure disorder. And so we're put on medicine, and we're back and forth to neurologist. And I think at that point, when my husband and I just looked at each other and said, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
So he heals differently than I do. I need other people. I need to lean. He's more of I need to just be alone. So
Hmm.
that was something that was very unique, is that we had to heal together, yet we also had our own path to do it.
Yes.
And so I want to always report in that my middle son outgrew his seizure disorder and he's doing great. And so now we are just so thankful that we have three very healthy and nothing that's total. We have side effects for sure, but nothing that is complete. It doesn't matter. Whatever is happening, we will take it and run with it and figure it out. But we don't see that this is a big deal. Yeah.
Thank you for your courage
Uh,
telling that story. And you're in the same place I am where you can talk about it quite matter of factly, but there's still a lot of emotion that's sitting there that goes along with all of that when you're telling the story. So thank you very much for doing a beautiful job of sharing that with
Oh, you're
us.
welcome. Yes, the emotion is there, and I have to very much prep myself before I
Yeah.
come into this story because it is so
Yeah.
jam-packed. But I think that was the gift of my therapy, is that I can set it over here
Yeah.
and see it as for what it just these terrible situations, but it no longer, I never longer have to go and like sleep in it. I don't have to live it
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
much as I once did. So
Yeah. It doesn't define us anymore. So
there you
you're
go.
able to own the facts of it and tell the facts, but not be debilitated by it anymore, which
That's
is what the
exactly right.
healing process is all about. Because you can never lose the reality of what's happened to you, nor the reality of how you responded to it and how it affected you, but you can move past it, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yes,
And it's a
yes.
beautiful thing to be on the other side, because there were
100%.
many days I didn't know if that was possible.
Yeah.
And it's scary, right? It's scary
It,
when you're sitting in it and laying in it. So I think that's the power of the healing. Like that's the power of facing the heart and sitting in it, because I couldn't. I think that was my final. That was my decision to heal, was because I can't. This cannot be my forever. It's
yeah.
too much. So
It's a dark place to be. And that's ultimately where I got to as well. Once I became aware that there were some things I needed to heal from, and I realized that for me, everything had been all the pain that I had endured, all of my trauma had been what other people had done to me. So I was literally carrying in me what somebody else gave to me. Here, I'm going to give this to you, and you're going to carry it, this big, massive, for me, this huge wall around me. You're going to carry this for the rest of your life, unless you do the healing work whenever you get to that point. But yeah, that and once I realized that I was where you were, like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't have to, and I'm not. What's the path forward? How do we move? How do we move forward from this? So,
correct.
yeah. So before we talk more about that, your path moving forward, I just want to say that I am so happy for you and grateful that all three of your kids are doing well, they're thriving, they're beautiful children, and that's a blessing, a real blessing.
Yes. And I catch myself just getting in mom life where I'm just like, oh, the homework's not done and the laundry's on the couch. And it's okay to get frustrated about that stuff, but I have
Mhm.
a totally different perspective to be like, how lucky am I? Like there's clothes all over the couch and there's shoes everywhere. And I can't get too far from that because it will creep up and just be like, Jen, like this is where your dreams are coming true because
Yes.
this messy house is lived in with the people that you cherish the most. That's a gift, I think. That's a gift that I can pull out of all this is that my perspective is just so raw and geez, I don't know, just like in real time to not sweat the little stuff that
Yeah.
might have been so before.
Yeah, I think that's what comes out of a lot of the experiences that we have, and the resilience comes the what we go through, and then the healing process in particular teaches us to be resilient, and that's that not sweating that small stuff. Back to that peace and harmony and calm we were talking about at the beginning,
Right,
right?
totally. Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Your perspective on what really matters
Hmm.
changes significantly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
that's
I think that's probably my tie to my job now is just recognizing even because we all have our stories. We all
hmm
have our hard. This is a different kind of hard that I went through, but we all have it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist elsewhere if it's not this huge capital T trauma, but is that it's a choice, it's an intention, it's a thought that
hmm
I have this gift in front of me, and what am I going to do with it? And am I going to be intentional about it? And I always tell parents, like, you have to put intention somewhere. Either you're proactive about it and do it beforehand and take it in that way, or you're cleaning up the mess when you
Yeah,
are trying to make it to fix it. This side of it's way nicer. Like it's this is where you want to be, is the proactive.
yeah, I agree. Proactive
Reactive.
ahead of it.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Mhm.
100% agree with
That's right.
that. Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about your healing journey. You mentioned going through therapy and EMDR, and of course, you know that I am a massive advocate for therapy and trauma therapy in particular because I know the benefits for myself. And I still, 5 years on, still work with my therapist, and I don't know that she's ever going to leave my life. I think she'll always be in my life in some capacity. I just believe in that relationship is more than just my therapist, right? It's part of my support team, right? So I'm a huge advocate for it. And I've also used EMDR, which has been pivotal in helping me to process some of the emotions and experiences that I've been through. But you share with us your experience a little bit more with those two things and anything else related to therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I started out with talk therapy, and that was just nice. Like I said, just to have that safe place. Like you're like,
Mhm.
it's just an open vault, and I get to be really mad, right? At first, I was in the victim level of how am I allowed to, how could this happen to me? And oh, that victim level is just so sad and lonely because you just feel defenseless. But then it picks up and goes to anger. And I spent a lot of time in my anger zone. And I thought it was really good when I was going to one of my therapists and we walked through what would you do? What would you do if you could fix it? So I just got to envision. I got to put that anger out, and it needed something so severe like that to just get it out of me, to bubble
Yeah.
out. And then I was able to start to see that this is where I can start to, golly, I don't even know if I know the words, but this is where I can start to understand that these things happened and it is my job to work on me. And I can't
Mhm.
sit there and focus on, wow, what other people did to us or what God did to my daughter and my son with cancer and the seizures. But does that make sense? I feel like I'm talking in circle, but it was just
No.
the recognition of how to take in what happened and to process it, and then I don't know how to move forward without being resentful,
Yeah.
really pissed all day long.
Yeah, because those emotions that we're carrying, they're going to come out in some way. And when we're holding them inside of us, what's natural is to start blaming other
Mhm.
people. You mentioned God, right? And I would imagine that if you look at the totality of your life now, and the story that you have, which is so positive and so inspirational, and you are in a place of being able to share it, to give it to other people for purposes of saying, I've been through this, but look at me, I'm still here. And whether it's to connect with somebody who's had a child that's been through shaken baby syndrome or child with leukemia, whatever it may be, right? You're connecting directly through that gift. But while you're going through that, you are carrying that anger, right? And so it's natural to say, to point the finger at whoever, right? So it's God. And a lot of times you mentioned yourself, the guilt you were carrying for
Oh, that
yourself,
was a big
right?
one.
And so
Yeah.
that all of that is just the anger coming out in some way. And because you're not a volatile person, you're not a mean, punch you out, angry person,
Mhm.
it still has to come out in some way. And so it's natural for it to come out in some way by putting the blame somewhere with somebody else's fault. And I think what you realize through therapy is that's really what's happening. That core emotion of anger must come out. And when it starts to come out, you shift in not only how you're feeling inside of you, like physically what that feeling is, but your mind also starts to move in a different place of the reality of what happened, right?
Oh, yes. You rephrase that so beautifully. That's exactly it. Yes, you get me. You hear my voice.
It's from experience
Yeah,
because that's exactly what happened to me. That's interesting because I think about, we talk about grief and people talk about grief on the backside of someone dying and leaving us, right? But I feel like all of the grief emotions can be present on the backside of any kind of a trauma that we experience. And certainly I've been through that, right? So I know my own healing journey when I was processing, there were a series of emotions that I had to heal and I had to go back starting with the beginning emotion and work through them. And ultimately, they are all grief emotions. And what
Mm,
I came to understand for myself is because my trauma began when I was so young, 5, really what I was grieving was the loss of myself as a child. And I
right.
think, and that may be part of what was happening to you, losing you lost the normal motherhood, right? Being
Yes,
a normal, quote unquote, normal mother
right.
with 3 vibrant, healthy children right from the very beginning, that life's off and running and as a great parents, and that whole idea that you might have had in your mind coming into marriage and then coming into starting a family and motherhood is shattered. It's
Mm,
gone. And you did
100%.
that for a period of time with your 2 older children, but then with the series of events that began with your younger son, and I think that's probably what you experienced is grieving the loss of that you were carrying inside of you. And so naturally, you might be pissed off about that. It's
Yeah,
very natural
that's
for
very
us,
true. Yeah. Yeah.
but
And
you
then,
know,
oh, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. No,
I
you
was
go.
just,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the thing about EMDR that I like so much, because so you're forming new pathways, right? New,
Yeah.
what's the official word? Do you know, like the,
You're desensitizing and reprocessing.
okay, there it is. Yes. So you're creating new. Like, so I love
Yeah.
it because she's picture what, because get like a frame, like you're going through a camera and pick one frame of where you want to reframe it, right? And so
Hmm.
I picked when all the 10 people came in the hospital room because that's how my life changed in a split second.
Yeah.
So that was very triggering for me. And we went back and looked at it from where we are now to what happened then and what I can tell myself. He's going to be okay.
Yeah.
We're going to set you free, and you don't have to feel like you're being accused of anything. And so now, when I think back to that picture, that moment that haunted me for so many years when I close my eyes, I can look at it now and say, that was a piece of the puzzle, but that is no longer going to be in control of my anxiety. And so that is one of my most sacred things that I took away from that is to have the power to relook at that and not let it control me. That I can look at it and say, that happened. Yes, it did. It was unfortunate. I'm very sad about it, but it is not going to control me. And that's a blessing that I
It is.
will ever be grateful for because how many times did you close your eyes and you're just like, okay, we're back here. It's haunting me.
Yeah, you're reliving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that not being in control anymore, I think is ultimately what we're trying to get out of any kind of healing modality that we engage with. And obviously there's a lot of power in EMDR, but coming to realize, and it goes back to what I said at the beginning, right about my own experience, is when I realized that I was literally living my life
Mm,
based on what other people had done to me, and they gave me something horrible, but
mm,
gave it to me. And I was like, okay, that can control me now.
Yeah,
And moving past that, that's what is happening in the healing process is really taking back our power, becoming the empowered survivor,
that's it. Yeah,
right?
that's
Taking it
exactly.
back is ending that control of what someone else's intersect with our life. We're ending that control that we've given to them, turned our power over, taking it back.
Totally. And then this is where we are so powerful as coaches because we pick up the pieces when therapy and EMDR are kind of like, okay, you've made it.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, what's next? And so then we, as the people where we are, you with healing, me with parents and teens, is then let's figure out how to move forward in our best selves and our empowered selves. And that just gets me like all lit up because that's just the gift that keeps on giving. It
Yeah.
truly is what gets us to leave this earth with our highest selves and our most happiness for leaving no stone unturned of what we of the potential.
Yeah, paying it forward, creating that ripple effect and giving
That's
that light to other people.
yeah,
Right. And it's a lot of fun. I agree with you. It lights me up. It is. I have a
yeah,
lot of passion about doing that. And I'm very clear that is what I'm meant to be doing, but I absolutely love it. A lot of fun. So tell me, were there other modalities that you engaged with as part of your healing journey other than therapy and the EMDR?
yeah, I would say my community for sure.
Big one.
I've got a bunch of
Hmm.
girls that I actually went to high school with, and some preschool and some college, and just and I have picked up along the way to be in my tribe. And there was a really low moment when my the third incident with my son. I'd been through the two major with the shaken baby and the cancer, and I just don't know if I can do this anymore. And I just remember sitting on the couch in complete, probably one of my lowest points, and just saying, I just don't know if I have the strength. And they came over. And I put my head on one of their laps and she rubbed my head and I fell asleep and like they didn't leave. Brought food. Just when you hit rock bottom,
Yeah.
you have to have that tribe or the people or the safe place for you to fall because that's the safety net that we all need. I feel like as humans, like that's we weren't meant to do this alone. Even if it's having a bad day versus the worst experience of your life. It's just, and really the best. I had those same people at my wedding and the same people at
Yeah.
the birth of my baby. You just do life together. But that was, I would say, is the top of my rung of as far as so important and that helped me heal.
Yeah, it's the tribe. I completely agree. It's very important. I just want to ask you about the trust aspect of that, though, because you just mentioned these are people who'd been in your life for a while, so they were there before you were dealing with all the accusations around your youngest son. But have you had experiences where, and my question is about the fear of building the tribe because you have to put yourself in a vulnerable state. We're
Right.
talking about tribe. We're not talking about people who know a layer of you and maybe they know a little bit of a deeper layer. Tribe, we're talking about people who know the core of who you are, right?
Yes.
They know where the skeletons are, right?
Oh,
Those are the
sure.
people who we're talking about. But when you are building that tribe, and certainly it was my experience, and maybe it's just part of my journey and when I really started focusing on building my tribe, but there is an aspect of there's a moment of trust, right? And a consideration of trust because you're being super vulnerable at
Hmm.
that point. So, did you experience that as you've worked on building tribe? And maybe it's a question that's more relevant to new people that have come into your tribe since you've been through those experiences, particularly the one with your youngest son.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's interesting. I've never been asked that question. I think that I just am a trusting person.
Yeah.
And it's I'm gonna put this in your lap. And if you're able to take it and be there with me, I accept you. But I think if in my mind, if I'm handing it over to you, then I trust you.
Yeah, you're already there.
I'm already there. So
Yeah.
if it's somebody that, and I've got newer friends that I don't tell that stuff. I'm not like, hey, I'm Jen. You want to hear my
Yeah.
trauma, right?
Yeah.
But it does come out, and I feel like it comes with me. It's part of me, and,
Yes,
and
100%.
yeah. And so when it does come out, I think I do it with no expectations, but people have responded well. right? I'm not telling them to say, I need you to like give me an extra hug or look at me with any sort of sympathetic eye, but it's
Mm.
saying, this is all of me and you can love all of me or not. And 99.9% of time, they're like, girl, I got you. Like,
Yeah.
this, what do you need? I have,
Yeah, I like that point you made about the tribe in particular. You're talking about people that you're part of, they already have some level of trust
yeah.
for them based on your prior interactions. Or you spent time with them, you've observed them with other people, you've observed the things that they talk about, you probably know something about their value system already. And so it's that selection process of who am I going to bring in. But I still, for me, I mean, and I've done that exact same thing, but for me, there was still a moment of maybe even a little bit of fear, right, around what's the reaction going to be when I drop this part of me
Mhm.
onto this person, right? But it's crucial in building the tribe. And I guess what I would say to anybody who's watching this or listening to this, the key to this whole part of this conversation is just to do it because having people who you can turn to and not being isolated, which you've been in that place of isolation. I was in that place of isolation for a long time and then fell into deep despair and hopelessness once I realized some of the central facts about my life and what I've experienced. And getting out of that place is really about human engagement. And the tribe is super, super important for that. And finding out who those people are and building that around you is critical.
Yeah. And that shame wants to live there. It's that shame. I mean, I could have stayed in that
Sure.
24/7 if I had let
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And but I did experience that when I started speaking because that is a platform that I do like to share because I like people to say my bad is never bad enough to start healing.
Hmm.
People to think that I can never go so low. There is no so low that you can't heal. And
Oh, what there is, but we don't ever want anybody to get to that low,
that's it.
right?
That's
Yes. And that is a reason to do the work, is not to get to that point.
Good point. Yes, you're right. So that's where, but when I first started speaking, it was like, okay, I'm putting all my nuggets out on this little plate here and I'm going to pass it to you. But the confidence from support has been beyond mind blowing. So now I
Yeah.
just feel safe because I've had so many people respond so well. It's like people need to hear our stories, and
They
that's the
do.
silver lining. That's
Yeah.
it. So that's all we can do, really, honestly, truly, at this point is just to give back with the heart and say, I've got you. What do you
Yeah.
need?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to mention on your healing journey?
That,
Those are both super powerful ones that are at
yeah,
the
they're
very,
good.
very top of my list as well. But anything else you want to talk about?
Golly, that,
Let's actually,
yeah.
I'm gonna steer you a little bit if that's
Okay,
okay.
do it. Yeah.
Let's talk about your spirituality and
Okay.
how that came into play because you mentioned being angry at God. Let's just talk about that, about how that has played a role in your life, but more specifically in your healing journey.
Yeah. So there was a long time there where I was super mad and it was shut down city where I was like, I'm good. I believe you're out there, but I'm really mad at you. But I feel very wholeheartedly that he understood that and said, I'm going to be right here when you're ready. I'll be waiting for you. And then I didn't put pressure on myself. And that time came. And then I almost felt it was like, I need to thank you
Mhm.
because I feel like you were woven in all of this. And this is where I have fallen back into his arms and his heart, especially as I felt the blinking lights over where I needed to go. Like
Yeah.
when I got into coaching, I was like, I hear you, I see you, like it's all, I get it, I'm going. And yeah, so now I'm very much in a peaceful place. And I
Hmm.
feel like he's never left, even though I really wanted him to go away, but never left my side. It's right there along with my tribe. Like he showed up and rubbed my head and just said, you're going to get through this and I'm going to walk with you every step of the way. So my faith is just almost like one of those relationship things that when you go through the hard, it gets stronger. And
Yeah.
so that's where I live right now with my relationship with faith and how God's hands are all over what I'm doing now
Yeah.
and where I came from.
Yeah. That idea that God is always there no matter what happens in our life is so true. And my experience, my very powerful experience that was when I was exploring love and starting to look at love in a variety of different relationships and what is it and how do we get it? How do we give it? Just the work that I've done, my experiences through all of that, still going through those, but in some of the earlier days of that, I had a very profound set of lessons around self-love, all from God, what I call my universe touches, where I can see the hand of God literally acting in my life. Of course, it's after the fact. I go back and look at a series of events. I'm like, oh, that was you. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay. I
right.
get that, right?
No, hindsight's 2020, right?
Yes. But I also had a very powerful reminder about spiritual love and God being the primary source of love that we have. And so I went through a period where I was back and forth. I was like, is it spiritual love from God or self-love? And I'm not here without God, so maybe God's love is first and then self-love, but they are definitely a one and two, right? There are one A and one B for me very close together. But I've had a similar experience, right, where my own, where I was reminded that even though I'd been through some very difficult and dark times in my life and have had a spiritual journey that has been wandering and with God, not necessarily going away, but not being walking with God and then coming back, where I'm very intentional now about seeing the path, knowing what God wants for me and seeking what does God want for me. But I had my time period when I was off of that, right? But even
Mhm.
through all of that, even through the pain that I've endured and what how people have hurt me, how I've hurt other people through all of that, a very powerful reminder for me that God's been there through every bit of that and loves me immensely, which is a that's powerful. I think spirituality is huge as part of our healing journey. But I think it's natural for all of us to go through some form of departure from God
Right.
as we're experiencing what we experience in one way or another.
I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy. And I tell my kids this, I think it's healthy to question,
Mm,
right? What just happened to me and why?
yeah.
And not just to assume I'm just so messy, nobody will love me. I think questioning is always healthy. That's just the
Yeah.
basis of what we do too, is to get to the bottom of it. So I feel that's the same way. And if you pay attention and you're quiet enough, you'll see it all over.
Yeah.
And you just have to open your heart and accept that like you're super messy and that's okay. And that's almost a beautiful thing that because you are opening yourself up, all the authentic, because nobody's perfect. Beth and I just talked
Can
about
I
this
just say thank you very much? I appreciate you saying that to me, right? Because I am super messy,
yes,
but a beautiful being, as you are too.
a beautiful mess, right? And
Yes, well,
like I don't want to leave this earth like clean, all proper. I want to be all messy. Be all the things because that means that you lived a really good life.
yes, a full life with a lot that happened to you. So,
That's right.
yeah, it's, and when you mentioned that being messy, I actually did go through a period of, and this wasn't too many years ago when I was really in the depth of my despair and my hopelessness. This whole idea of being damaged goods and not being lovable. It was the only way that I could yeah, I think it goes back to what we were talking about before when you're carrying all of those emotions in you. And this is when, in the early days of when I started to process all of that stuff out of me, when you're looking for a place to put it. And one
Hmm.
of the places that we're blaming is ourselves, as you did. How did I fail as a mother to let this happen to my child? And what is it about me that makes me so unlovable that people just think they can do whatever they want to me and hurt me? So that kind of been in that place. I think that's normal for the types of things that we've been through to turn to ourselves and ask those questions. But
Sure.
that's really where I had that very profound lesson from God about I'd come through that of, okay, I'm not damaged goods. I've just had this very full and messy, yes, but a very full life that's been, for the most part, pretty cool. It's had some rough parts to it, right? But not damaged goods and definitely lovable, right? So that was for sure God's hand in helping me to come past that. Um,
Yeah, even the mistakes and all the messy parts is how we learn. That's my
yeah.
favorite part. That's my favorite part to learn. And true failure is when you can try it, and even if it doesn't work out, you learn from it. Fake
Yes.
failure is when you don't try it at all. So
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
love that that's where we are. It's just
Yes.
here we go. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. All right. So, talk a little bit about what it is more specifically that you're doing to help parents and teens.
Yeah, so I'm just starting some really cool groups. I have been doing a lot of one-on-ones and I love the one-to-ones, but I feel like the group work is so powerful because ding ding, it hits that community level, right? Like
Yes.
we talked about. And
Yeah.
a lot of the people I talk to are feeling the void there. So I'm like, then let's kill two birds with one stone
Yeah.
and have some coaching, but also do it with other people and see their
Hmm.
journeys and connect. So I just started a beautiful moms group and we started yesterday and I love it so much. And then I'm starting a teen group here at the end of summer that's going to help prep them for the school year and get their mind right as far as how can I walk into those doors and feel confident and empowered to take notes, how to talk to my teacher, how to talk to the stranger kid next to me and not feel like you just want to hide under the desk. Just
Yeah.
confidence and an empowerment to good habits, good routines, and just how to thrive with the balance of going to school and all the other things that can sometimes engulf us with a lot of overwhelm.
Hmm.
So what I'm working on now as we move forward. And I'm open to chat to anyone that's interested in wanting to talk about their family.
And how is it that people can find you?
Oh, good question. You can go to my website, jenbrowncoaching.com, and there's an inquiry form, and you can do that, or you can find me on socials. I think, all the Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, all the things, Jen Brown or Jen Brown Coaching.
Yeah, and of course, we will connect all of that in the show notes so people can find you
Yeah.
directly if they're listening to or watching this. So, yeah, that's cool. Your work getting ready for school is very timely with the new school year approaching. So,
I
that's
mean, I
amazing.
believe it.
Yes, quickly.
Going
Yeah.
fast, but yes, I want to be ready. And I find that's a really important time to kick it off with a good first step and not wait for, like we talked about, like to be proactive instead of reactive.
Yes, it's a great example of being proactive, right? Get it before the school year even
That's right.
starts so you're prepared going in. So,
That's right.
yeah, that's completely amazing. So, yeah. As always, I love chatting with you. Yeah,
Me too. Me too.
fun.
This is fun. I
Yeah.
felt like we just had a conversation. Like I forgot we were even recording.
That's what I love about this because I
Yeah.
forget that too, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, just having a little chat. So it's
Yeah.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying doing it. So, yes,
Good.
it's so great to see you. And hopefully, I'll see you in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
maybe. I'll see you somewhere around
Yeah.
Dallas, which is a miss because we're both in Dallas and I didn't do this one in person, which I've been having fun a little bit with my in-person recordings, but
Well, that's fun.
might have to do this again
Yeah.
sometime.
I
Yeah.
accept already.
Yes. All right. Wonderful.
That's right.
Very good. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today and meeting my good friend Jen Brown. I hope you will go out, find her, connect with her. I'm happy to help you do that. You can reach out to me as well or go through the show notes to find out where to connect with her. And until next time, as I always say to you, keep healing. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode of Let's Heal with Beth Jones. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Beth Jones Healing Mentor. And if you'd like to know more about me and my work to help other survivors to heal, please visit me on the web at empoweredsurvivors.com.